What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. It feels like every day I make a video about Sony, it's for all the wrong reasons. And in this case, it's another one in a long line of those, Sony being greedy once again. If those of you missed my video talking about the PS Plus price increase of nearly 35%, might want to check that one out before watching this. But this video is going to be talking about Sony not only defending that decision, but talking about how they're working with gamers and how this is going to be the biggest year ever for holiday sales for Sony, because according to Sony, apparently people just love blowing money on them. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for my full breakdown of this obnoxiously greedy situation from Sony. Once again, God, I get sick of saying that every time I talk about them. I like PlayStation. I do. I'm not an Xbox fanbot. I'm not a Nintendo fanboy. I like all these systems. But when I see some shenanigans, I'm going to call it out. Tech companies often make headlines for strategic decisions. Sometimes it can come across as corporate greed. Other times it's because they feel the market and they're trying to go with exactly where it is, make as much money as possible. I guess you could say that's greed too, but either way, that's what Sony thinks they're doing with this right now. Clearly, not all of these decisions favor the customer. Sony recently demonstrated this by raising its PS Plus subscription prices by upwards of 35%, a number that I'm still having trouble getting over. I can't comprehend a company thinking it's a good idea to increase the prices of something that should be free and once was upwards of 35% to the end user who thinks they are already spending too much in the first place for a service that isn't worth it. The increase affects all three tiers: Essential, Extra, and Premium, which, by the way, side note, those tier systems and all these different services Sony has is not helping them. It's the most confusing smorgasbord of information somebody could see when they log on to the online store. You need to get your abacus out and figure out, okay, if I buy this, I get this, and I get it's too much confusion. Have one simple pricing option. If you want the online service and get the games, great. If not, great. But going beyond that just gets overcomplicated and turns off the average layperson. Despite Sony's attempt to justify the move, many are questioning whether this is a stark display of corporate greed and a disconnect with the current consumer climate. Barron's recently interviewed Eric Lempel, the senior vice president and head of worldwide marketing, sales, business operations, and consumer experience for Sony PlayStation. So you would think that this person has their finger on the pulse of the gamer financially. And if anything, reading through this, it's the complete opposite. Eric Lempel explained in the interview with Barron's that Sony had not touched the PS Plus pricing for 85% of its global user base for several years. However, what he failed to acknowledge is that despite stagnant wages and increased costs of living, have you been to the grocery store lately? What does $100 get you that it used to get you compared to now? And now they're telling me because that these people are willing to spend more money on groceries and living expenses and everything else, even though their wages have basically stayed the same, that they're somehow going to magically come up with money to spend more on Sony online services? I don't think that's how it works. Sony has taken it upon themselves to adjust to market conditions, as Eric puts it himself. They are adjusting to market conditions because everything else is going up in price. Why can't we? That's one way to treat loyal customers for many years, is slapping them in the back of the head saying, great, glad you were here, now pay us more money. But I want to touch back on that tiered system again. The PS Plus tiered subscription appeared initially to offer more choices to consumers, but with a third of the Plus user base opting for the more expensive upper tiers, it seems like Sony has recognized an opportunity to squeeze more money out of their loyal customers. And with inflation running wild, this holiday season 2023, around December, the end of the year, PlayStation expects prices to go up and consumers to spend even more money that they're magically going to come up with out of thin air. Eric Lempel claims that Sony is expecting one of the strongest seasons in our history in terms of console sales this holiday. And he's quoted as saying that in Barron's, even though everything has gone up in price. including the newly released PlayStation Slim, the PS5 Slim, that now costs more than the original PS5, and you get the same thing, if not less, for your money. It doesn't make much sense. And let's not even talk about that $30 optional stand that Sony's trying to sell you. I can't help but wonder if these inflated prices will ultimately contribute to the company's bottom line, rather than providing added value to customers during a season known for goodwill and generosity. But I mean, hey, in capitalism, goodwill and generosity has kind of gone out the window. Sony is clearly blinded to the competition. They don't even notice what's going on next door at Microsoft. And yes, Microsoft did increase their prices on the Xbox Live services, but not 35%. Microsoft modestly adjusted the pricing for their Game Pass service. Sony's substantial hike feels like a tone-deaf one by comparison. Instead of fostering a community that keeps gaming accessible, Sony appears to be driving a wedge between itself and its consumers. You know, the people that keep them in business. This is a direct attack against you. Lempel didn't offer a direct comparison between PlayStation Plus and Game Pass, choosing to underline PlayStation Plus's unique offerings, taking the perspective of, we don't care what anyone else is doing, very tone-deaf, blinded approach. Look at us because ours is better anyways, even though we're not looking at what other people are doing. All right. Looking at what Sony actually offers, could you truly look at it and say, wow, this is a unique offering that I can't get anywhere else for my gaming needs. I have to go with Sony. No! Sony attempts to wrap its pricing strategy in the guise of market adjustments and a tier-based value. An abrupt increase in PlayStation Plus subscription fees seems to tell a different story, one of corporate greed and a disconnect from the very consumers who made Sony a key player in the gaming world to begin with. Talk about losing touch with your consumer, not knowing how to identify what's working, what's not, and making sense of the situation surrounding what's going on in the world today. Sony has completely lost their mind, and I can't help them find it if they don't listen to stuff like this. Now, they are a corporate greed machine on a warpath of destruction, blazing a trail, destroying everything in their path. And once again, pointing to how the PC Master Race may be the way to go for the future of gaming. Sony is proactively driving away their customers because they are going the route of greed. Instead of saying, oh, we're not going to raise our prices 35%, we're going to keep them the same. Or how about this? Offer a cheaper option that's like $5 a month or $10 a month, strictly just to play games online. Because I know a lot of people, that's all they want to do is be able to play these games online. They don't care about getting the PS Plus discounts. They don't care about the free games every month. They don't care about all the bonuses and unique offerings. They just want to be able to play the games online for a fairly cheap price. And ultimately, the direction that console gaming is going, with new increased prices from Sony, Nintendo Online Service, Xbox Live, costing all this money just to play these games online, getting a whole bunch of other stuff that a ton of people don't really want, it drives people directly to playing on PC where there's still no charge for it. I don't think people even understand how most of this works, and Sony's taking advantage of people being ignorant to that. But ultimately, that's where we find ourselves. Sony being greedy once again, and instead of walking it back and saying, whoops, we kind of overshot our landing on the pricing, they double down and say, we expect this to be the best holiday season ever. Well, I guess time will tell. It remains to be seen. But I don't think this direction is a healthy one, especially for Sony. But really, the whole video game industry at large is going down this path of make as much money as we possibly can and get the hell out before everything collapses down onto itself. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting right now. That's not really one of sustainability for the long term. And yes, I guess what you could say is the only way to get Sony to really listen to your concerns and complaints is to speak with your wallet and don't purchase these things. Don't buy it. The problem is people get in with this PlayStation 5, they get one for Christmas, they get one for their birthday, and then they're forced to buy this plan if they want to use the games online. And that's how they get you. And they know that's how they get you. That's part of their business model. And probably why this guy Eric is saying, oh yeah, we can get more money than ever now because we're getting more people to purchase these consoles. The more people that buy the consoles, the more people that go online, the more people that are paying monthly, and boom, you got yourself a nice juicy monthly revenue stream from these people that don't know that you can play the game somewhere else for free. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing. Smash, Smash,